Chapter 5, Day 6, we are going to work on intercepts, using intercepts to graph linear functions. First, let's start with a warm-up. What I would like you to do, you don't have to necessarily do this on a separate sheet of paper, but what I'd like you to do is to write the equation in slope-intercept form given the slope and a point or 2 points. This is what you worked on yesterday. So an equation in slope-intercept form, remember that's y equals mx plus b. M is the slope and B is the y-intercept. So I'd like you to try these 2 questions. Again, this is what you did yesterday, and so I would like you to see if you can do this correctly and accurately. So pause the video, try the 2 questions, and then restart the video for explanation. So your equation for number 1, when all is said and done, you should have, you should have y equals 1/2 x plus 4. That is the correct answer, okay? And for the second one, you should have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So if you got either of these wrong, listen for the explanation. First of all, you start with the slope, and the slope right here gets plugged in for m. So you can then write the equation y equals 1/2 x plus b. Your b value is not the y value from this ordered pair, but you can use this ordered pair to find the b, the y-intercept, by taking the x value and putting it in here for x, and the y value and putting it in for y. So now we have 5 equals 1/2 times x, which is 2, plus b. So 1/2 times 2, remember, put a 1 under here, and that's just going to be 1 times 2, or 2 over 2, or 1. Again, you can use your calculator for that. So now you're going to subtract 1, and you get b is equal to 4. So now you have your y-intercept, your b value, you have your slope, you have your m value, and that's where you get y equals 1/4 x plus 4. In the second question, first you need to find the slope. So you find the slope by using the slope formula, which takes these 2 ordered pairs and labels the first ordered pair as x1, y1, and the second ordered pair as x2, y2. And now we plug in to that formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So take your second x value right here, which is 3. And we're going to take 3 and subtract our other y value, which is -1. So I have to subtract a -1. Now I put that over 3 minus -3. So what happens when you subtract a negative, remember, is you add the opposite, because you're taking away a loss, which means you're adding it back in. So what you get for your slope then is you get 4 over 6. And reduced, your m value is 2/3. So notice that's this value right here. That is your m value. Again, to find the b, we can start by putting the slope in there. We know it's going to be y equals 2/3 x plus something, but we don't know what that b value is. And so we're going to take one of the ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which one. I like to pick the one that has smaller numbers or fewer negatives. So I'm going to put the y value of 3 in and the x value of 3 in. And then I have plus b. So 2/3 times 3. Again, put a 1 under this or use your calculator. But this is going to be 2 times 3, or 6 over 3. Well, 6 over 3 is 2, so that gives us 3 equals 2 plus b. Now I subtract my 2, and that's where I get my b equals 1. So there is my y-intercept. And that is the equation. If you're struggling with this, you might want to go back and read the section in the textbook or rewatch the video for some extra help. So in today's lesson, we are going to work on determining the x and y intercept from a graph and equation, and we're also going to write equations for horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, so how do you graph a line in slope-intercept form? Do you remember? Well, you start by plotting the y-intercept. So again, this is y equals mx plus b. So this is your y-intercept. So you start by plotting your y-intercept at 2. And then you're going to use your slope of -3/4 to go to the next point. So I'm going to go down 3, and I'm going to go to the right 4. So I'm going to go down 3, so 1, 2, 3, and to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another point on my graph. I can do the same thing, down 3, 1, 2, 3, right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I end up right over here, and then I can draw my line. So that's how we graph in slope-intercept form. Pretty simple, but the key is in slope-intercept form, these equations have to be solved for y, so that the equation is in y equals mx plus b. Again, these are solved for y. There's other forms though, and the other forms, one of them is called standard form. So not all linear equations will actually be written in slope-intercept form. So remember slope-intercept form, I hope that you're sick of hearing this now, because that means you're really starting to get it. Y equals mx plus b. And to graph, again, we start with a y-intercept, and then we use the slope, which is our rise over run, to get to the next point on the line. So how do we graph it in standard form? Well, this is what standard form looks like. It is not solved for y, and what you have is standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are called integers. Those are just positive, negative whole numbers, and they can't be 0. And to graph, how we can do that is we can use the intercepts. So we can graph it using the x and y intercepts. So you know what the y-intercept is, but you can't find it from standard form like you can in slope-intercept. So let's see how we do that. Well, before we get to that, let's review what is the y-intercept and what does it mean? Well, the y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. And in the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is always 0. So the x part of the ordered pair is always 0. So when you look at the y-intercept, you're looking for the y value right here when your x is 0. The x-intercept, on the other hand, is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. And in the x-intercept, the y-coordinate is always 0. And so it's always going to be an ordered pair x, 0. So if you look at this x-intercept right here that we have, this x-intercept is crossing the x-axis at -2. And if you were to name that ordered pair, that would be the ordered pair -2, 0. So again, notice that the y value is 0, and we are looking for the x value when y is equal to 0. We could also just say the x-intercept is -2. Just like we've done with the y-intercept before, we've said the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, and we can see that that point is crossing at 3. So we can say the y-intercept is 3, but we can also list that as an ordered pair, and that is the ordered pair 0, 3. So again, notice that the x value is 0, so it's the y value when your x value is 0. So see with what I just wrote down, see if you can give me the x and y intercepts from the graph of this line. So pause the video and write them down, and then restart the video to see if you got it correct. The y-intercept is -4, or we can write that as 0, -4. The x-intercept is crossing the x-axis at at -3. So the x-intercept is -3, 0. All right, so hopefully you have an understanding of what an x and y intercept is. So now how do we find them in standard form? Well, It's actually pretty easy to graph equations in standard form. I would say slope-intercept is usually the preferred and easiest way, but it's actually fairly simple to graph equations in standard form as well. So this is what you're going to want to write down if you are taking paper pencil notes, okay? We are going to graph equations in standard form. We already talked about what standard form is. Remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c, okay? So to find the y-intercept, remember it's the y value right here when x is 0. So to find the y-intercept, we're going to plug 0 in for x and then solve. So if I plug 0 in here for x, this would become 3 times 0 minus 2y equals 6. Well, 3 times 0 is just 0. So 0 minus 2y, that just cancels out. So now I have negative 2y equals 6. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. So then what I get here for my y value is equal to negative 3. So my y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, negative 3. And so that means where this graph crosses the y-axis is going to be at negative 3. So again, that's 0, negative 3. My x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So again, I'm looking for that x value when y equals 0. So I am going to plug 0 in for y. So I'm going to take out this y and put a 0 in it. So now I would have 3x minus 2 times 0 equals 6. And again, what happens when you have negative 2 times 0? That's just 0. So 3x minus 0 just becomes 3x equals 6. Now divide by 3, and that gives you your x value is 2. So that means it's going to cross the x-axis at 2 right here, and that is the ordered pair 2, 0. So all I have to do is plug 0 in for x, find the y value, and write that ordered pair, and do the same. Put 0 in for y, find the ordered pair, and then you graph the 2 points and connect. I happen to graph the points as I was doing it. You can do that either way. So I graph those 2 points, connect them, and there is my line. So it's actually not too bad when you think about it. And this is kind of the same thing that we typically do if we were thinking about a t-table. Okay, we often would take and plug 0 in for x to find that y value. And what you're finding there is you are finding the y-intercept. But we could do the same thing by plugging 0 into the equation for y to get your x value, and that is going to give you your x-intercept. So that's kind of the same strategy we're using, just so that you can kind of see what we're doing here is really something that you've already done. So we're finding these 2 ordered pairs. All right, so I went through one together with the notes, okay? So I will go through one more with you, and then then you're going to try one, okay? So let's do this one together. Again, it says find the x and y intercepts for the line with the equation given below, and then use the intercepts to graph the line. So it's asking me to find the y-intercept first. So it's where it crosses the y-axis. And remember, we are trying to find the y value when our x value is equal to 0. So I'm going to put 0 in for x. So that's going to be 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. Remember, the 3 times 0 part just becomes 0, and we can cross it out, and now we have 4y equals 12. So I can just divide each side by 4, and that gives me my y value is 3. So my y-intercept is 3, or the ordered pair 0, 3. The y value when x equals 0 is 3. So the y-intercept is 3, or that's the ordered pair 0, 3. So now let's do the same process to find the x-intercept. So again, the x-intercepts, I am finding the x when the y value is 0. So now I'm going to put 0 in for y. So 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. again, that 4 times 0 part cancels out. That just becomes 0. 4 times 0 is 0, so I get 3x equals 12. Now I'm going to divide each side by 3, and I get x equals 4. So that means my line is going to cross my x-axis at 4, and that ordered pair right there is the ordered pair 4, 0. So now that I have my 2 points, my x and y intercept, I can connect those 2 points to graph the line. What is the slope of this line? Just to go back a second. Can you find the slope of this line? Well, you could find the slope of this line by using these 2 points. But since we already have it graphed, we can start at one point right here, and we can see how far we're going down. We're actually going down 3, and we're going over 4 to the right, so it's positive. So my slope is negative 3 over 4. Okay, your turn. All right, I would like you to solve this problem. So pause the videos, find the x and y intercept, graph the line, and also find the slope. Then restart the video to see if you have done it correctly. All right, so your y-intercept should be negative 6. So your value of y, when your x value is 0, when you plug in and get 0 right here, plug in 0 for x, okay? Now we can see that when we divide each side, because this gets canceled out, when we divide each side by negative 4, we get y equals negative 6. So that's where my line is going to cross, is at negative 6. Now hopefully you did that one correct. Let's see if you got the x-intercept. The x-intercept is 2. And it is the ordered pair, remember. We are looking for the x value when y equals 0. So when we plug in 0 for y, it looks like 12x minus 4 times 0 equals 24. Again, that cancels out, and when I divide by 12, I get x equals 2. So my x-intercept is crossing at 2. I can connect those lines together, or those points, and here is my line. To find my slope, pick one of the points to start at and see how far you rise. Well, you're going up 6 units, and you're going to the right 2, so you have 6 over 2, your slope is 3. All right, so here, what's different about this one is the equation is already in slope-intercept form, so you really don't even need to worry about finding the y-intercept. Okay, we already know that the y-intercept is negative 3. So we can plot that. Now, if you're not convinced, we could still put 0 in for x, because again, we're finding the y value when x is 0. So when I put 0 in for x, I get y equals negative 3, because 2 times 0 is 0, so this cancels out, and we just get y equals negative 3. All right, let's work on the x-intercept. The x-intercept, remember, is the ordered pair. We're looking for the x value when y equals 0. So when we go ahead and put 0 in for y, we get 0 equals 2x minus 3. So how do we solve this? Well, you use your solving strategies by adding 3 to each side. That moves the constant to the other side. Now what we have is we have 2x equals 3. So we get 2x equals 3. So now we are going to divide each side by 2. And my x-intercept is 1.5, or 3 over 2. Okay, so that's not always easy to graph, but it's not too bad. You can do it. Here's where x is 1, here's where x is 2, so here's where x is 1.5. And so now we'll connect the line and draw the line through it. Now this one might be a little bit more challenging to find the slope, okay? You are just going up, if you're counting, you're going up 3, but you're going over 1.5. So we would have 3 over 1.5. Well, that's not usually a slope when we don't usually use a fraction with that slope. So what we might want to do is actually divide 3 divided by 1.5, which gives us a slope of 2. Okay, so that gives us 2. So we actually have a slope of 2. Okay, so let's talk about, I'm going to skip that one right now. I think we've done enough of intercepts for right now. So what I'd like you to do is maybe try this one if you're struggling with this idea, and then check back to the notes to see if you got it correct. But we are going to go on to actually horizontal and vertical lines. Now, this is an application problem. What I'd like you to do is after, I'd like you to see how much you can get done on this application problem on your own. And then check the notes to see where you got stuck so that you can finish it up. But again, because of time, I want to move forward to horizontal and vertical lines. All right. So what is the line right here, horizontal or vertical? Well, that's a horizontal line. Okay, so that is a horizontal line. So what is the slope of a horizontal line? Well, the slope is 0. Okay, and even if you try to calculate the slope right here, if I go from this point to this point, I don't rise at all. So my rise is 0. My run is 2, but 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So does this line have an x-intercept or a y-intercept? This line has a y-intercept. It doesn't intersect the x-axis, so it has a y-intercept. And so the equation for this line is actually y equals whatever my y-intercept is, and in this case it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So y equals 4. That's the equation for horizontal lines. They go to the y-axis, so they're y equals lines. And if you think about the ordered pairs on this line, this ordered pair right here is the ordered pair 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the ordered pair 4, 4. This ordered pair right here is the ordered pair 2, 4. This ordered pair is the ordered pair 0, 4. This ordered pair right here is -2, 4. Are you noticing something? Are you noticing that all of these ordered pairs, the y value is 4? And that's why the equation is y equals 4, because every ordered pair on that line, the y value is 4. So this is what it looks like for your notes, okay? The equation of a horizontal line is always y equals something, and it happens to be the y-intercept. So horizontal lines are y equals something, and it is the y-intercept that you put in right there. And so we can name that B. So what would be the equation of the blue line? Well, the blue line is going through at 1, 2, 3, 4. So this equation is y equals that y-intercept. What is the equation of the red line? The red line is going through the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at -8. So y equals -8. So similarly, when we look at vertical lines, okay, this is a vertical line, and the slope of a vertical line is undefined. And so does the line have a y-intercept? No, it never crosses the y-axis, but it does have an x-intercept. Where? Right here. So the equation of vertical lines are always going to be x equals, and it's x equals whatever that value is where it crosses the x-axis, and that would be in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So x equals -7. And again, every ordered pair on this line, the x value is -7. So this is -7, -2. This ordered pair is -7, 0. This ordered pair right here is -7, 2. This ordered pair way up here is -7, 6. So again, if you look at the ordered pairs here, all of the x values are -7 on that line, and that is why the equation of that line is x equals -7. So again, for your notes, the equation of a vertical line is always x equals something. And what goes in there is your x-intercept. And so you could say x equals a, but what is a? A stands for your x-intercept. So what is the equation of the red line? It's crossing the x-axis here. What number is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is the equation again, x equals -7. What is the equation of the blue line? Well, it's crossing the x-axis right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is x equals 8. So those are our horizontal and vertical lines. That's when we have a graph. So what do we do? How do we know if it's a horizontal or vertical line when we don't have a picture? Well, of course we could graph it, or we could take a look at the slope. So the slope of this line would be -2 minus -2 over -2 minus 6. So that would be, again, you add the opposite here. And so when you have -2 plus 2, that gives you 0. It gives you 0 divided by -8, which gives you a slope of 0. So what kind of lines have a slope of 0? Well, horizontal lines have a slope of 0. So they're going to go through which axis? They're going to go through the y-axis. And again, notice that the y values are the same here. So the equation is simply going to be y equals -2. Okay, you try the next one. You see if you can figure out what the equation would be. Again, notice the y values are the same. And so when you subtract the y values, you are still going to get, for your slope, 8 minus 8, which is going to give you 0 over, and the bottom would be 2 minus 4, or -2, but that still gives you a slope of 0. And again, you know that that has to be a horizontal line, and so it's going to go through the y-axis, so that is going to be y equals 8. Okay, now can you do it for vertical lines? Again, what does a vertical line look like? A vertical line looks like this. What is the slope of a vertical line? It's undefined. Well, how would you know that if I didn't tell you? Well, when you calculate the slope, I'll show you. We take -1 and we subtract 3. Then we take 7 and we subtract 7. Now we get -4 over 0. You can't divide by 0. Okay, it's not allowed, and that's why your slope is undefined. And so again, notice which value is the same here. It's the x value, and that's how you know that your equation is x equals 7. Okay, your turn. You try the next one. Can you write the equation of that line? Notice, again, the x values are the same, so x equals -3 should be your answer. And that is the end of our lesson.